Ruth rocked a baby in the old wooden chair that Kelvin once promised to replace when he gets paid. The child laughed, a bubbly sound that makes mothers forget hunger, exhaustion, and everything, but not betrayal. Ruth had given Kelvin a youth. She carried cassava on her head while pregnant. She sowed akara at dawn. She dug their farmland until her palms cracked and bled. Last night, Kelvin had kissed the baby's forehead. He even told Ruth, "Tomorrow will change everything." He was right. It changed at the altar. An old woman from the next compound came running to Ruth, a wrapper half tied, breath breaking in her chest. "Ruth, your husband is at the village square marrying your city friend." The world didn't spin, it froze. When Ruth reached the village square, she saw Kelvin in a crisp white suit she had ironed, and beside him, the city girl. The same girl who once slept on a mat. They had eaten ogbono soup together like sisters. Kelvin didn't look ashamed. He looked relieved. Kelvin's family dragged her out of the wedding place. They threw her clothes into the dust like trash. They poured her soaked beans into the mud and called her a witch. They crowned the city girl queen before the wedding rice was even served. The baby cried. Ruth did not. They thought humiliation would break her and poverty would bury her. And unlike the city girl, Ruth didn't just have a golden heart. She had the brain of a genius. Before we see how Ruth turned bitter leaf and cassava into a kingdom and put her enemies to shame, please subscribe to this channel. Turn on the notification bell so you never miss a tale of African strength and justice. In a small village, there lived a woman named Ruth. She was beautiful and intelligent. Every morning, she would sweep the house and clean every chair until it shone, then cook a delicious breakfast for her husband, Kelvin. While other women were still sleeping, Ruth was outside frying akara in hot oil. She did this to raise money for her father, who was down with a stroke. Since her mother had gone to heaven, Ruth was the one left to care for him. After frying akara, she would carry a basket to the farm. She worked like a giant, uprooting heavy cassava to make fufu and gari. She even plucked fresh vegetables to sell and cook. Every weekend, she washed Kelvin's clothes in the river, but Kelvin did not appreciate her. His brother Michael was always whispering to him that Ruth looked too local because of the farm work. He advised Kelvin to marry the city girl who lived nearby. The city girl was famous for her long artificial nails, heavy eyelashes, and expensive makeup. Kelvin listened to his brother and planned a secret wedding. One Saturday, while Ruth was digging cassava, an old woman ran to her. "Ruth, your husband is marrying the city girl right now, and you are here busy digging cassava." Ruth dropped her hoe and ran with all her strength. Ruth reached the wedding scene. She was panting and covered in dust. She tried to stop them, crying out to the men she had served so faithfully. Kelvin's family dragged her to the corner and waited for the ceremony to end. When they got home, Ruth saw her clothes, baby things, and a battered economics textbook arranged outside in the dirt. "You are a witch," Kelvin's mother screamed at her. "That's why your baby is always red and sick. We don't want you here." They poured Ruth's bucket of beans in the mud. She had soaked the beans to make akara for the next day. The white beans were ruined and dirty. Ruth's baby began to cry, and his body was burning with high fever. Kelvin did not even look at her. He was busy admiring his new wife's makeup. Ruth gathered her things, carried her sick baby, and walked to her father's house. She felt like her life was over. She looked at her father and said, "Papa, they threw away my beans, but they can't throw away my God." Her father just nodded and looked at her. Tears gathered in his eyes. Ruth's father told her to go to a woman in the next village for help. Iyakoko was so pleased to see her. She treated the child with herbs. As Ruth got accustomed to the village, she realized that the village was filled with bitter leaf and hills of cassava that no one was using. Ruth looked at the plants with her intelligent eyes. She remembered her secondary school economics lessons about value-added products. She did not sit down to beg for bread. She told the Yakoko her plans and they organized the village women. Ruth showed them how to process bitter leaf into healthy juice for export. She taught them how to turn cassava into dry fufu powder, biscuits, noodles, and starch. Because she was so brilliant, she found international buyers who wanted her products. Soon, money began to flow like a river. The old woman and the whole village fell in love with Ruth. They were all making money. With her new wealth, she built a big, beautiful house for her father. She hired doctors to treat his stroke. As he recovered, she married a kind new wife for him to keep him company. Her greedy uncle had taken her father's land, thinking the man would die soon. He is closer to his grave, the uncles used to joke. But Ruth used her money and the law to legally collect her father's land back. She proved that a woman's intelligence is stronger than a man's greed. Her father looked much better and was proud of his genius daughter. While Ruth was becoming a success, Kelvin was living in a nightmare. His new wife, the city girl, was the laziest woman in the village. She did not clean the house. She did not sweep the yard. She refused to wash Kevin's clothes because she did not want to break her long painted nails. All she did all day was sit in front of a mirror, doing her facials and applying makeup. She spent every kobo Kelvin earned on expensive clothes and wigs. When Kelvin came home from a long day of work, there was no food on the table. Kelvin, who used to be served like a king by Ruth, now had to cook his own soup. He had to sweep the room and wash dishes while his wife complained about the heat. "I am a city girl," she would shout. "If you want the house clean, I am a maid. I cannot ruin my beauty for you." She even told Kelvin that she preferred sleeping alone so he wouldn't disturb her sleep. Kelvin became thin and sad. Every evening, he sat under a mango tree thinking about how he ended up in such a mess. He heard news of how Ruth was now a big madam with cars and houses. He remembered how she used to fry akara and uproot cassava just to make him happy. He realized he had traded a diamond for a piece of charcoal. Kelvin could not take it anymore. He gathered his family together. "I want Ruth back," he cried. His family, who were now hungry because the city girl wouldn't share her food, agreed to go and beg Ruth. They went to Ruth's father's house, looking very ashamed. They started to lie, saying, "We are sorry, Ruth. We only called you a witch and a thief by mistake. Kelvin made a big error. Please come back and be our wife." Ruth came out looking like a queen. She was calm and did not shout. She brought out a list and counted the exact amount of money her father once owed Kelvin for his old work. She handed it to them and said, "The debt is paid. I am no longer your slave." Kelvin was desperate. He grabbed her hand and shouted, "No, you are still my wife." Just then, a handsome and a very wealthy prince from the neighboring kingdom stood up from the inside the house. He was tall and he wore royal beads. "Ruth and I have already agreed to get married," the prince announced with a voice like a thunder. "I am here today to pay a bride price in full." Kelvin's family tried to protest and make trouble, but Ruth's father, looking strong and healthy, he signaled to the security guards, and Kelvin's family was escorted out of the compound in total disgrace. Ruth held her baby, who was now healthy and happy. She smiled at her prince. Her hard work and her brain had finally brought her to her palace. To every woman who feels like she is in the mud today, remember Ruth. Every floor you sweep and every akara you fry is preparing you for a bigger business. God is watching your labor. Ruth used her economics to change her life. Don't just work hard, work smart. Learn a skill, read a book, and use your brain to solve problems. If a man doesn't value your sweat, let him go. Your prince is waiting for you at the finish line. The people who poured away your beans today will be the same people who will be hungry for your fufu powder tomorrow. Stay focused and keep building. Sister, keep your head high. You are not a witch. You are a wonder. Your bitter leaf will surely turn to honey.